Hey everyone, I'm Fuse Cinema. Today we're diving into Five Nights at Freddy's 2, a game that expands the original with new mechanics, story elements, and tons of curiosities. Let's get started. Starting off with the characters, we got Toy Freddy, a dark brown blue-eyed animatronic bear with lighter brown areas. He starts at the show stage and moves on to the game area and then to the hallway outside of the office. To avoid getting jump scared, you gotta put on the Freddy Fazbear mask immediately, which again makes no sense considering he is Freddy Fazbear. But anyways, moving on to Toy Bonnie, a light blue lime-eyed animatronic rabbit. He starts on the stage, sneaks into the ventilation, and can attack you if ignored, jump scaring you by jumping out of the vent. Wearing a mask can obviously stop him. Moving away from Bonnie and onto Chica though, the yellow animatronic chicken, with more curves than the last game. She has a bib saying let's party. Like Bonnie, she starts on the stage, but unlike him, she moves to the left vent, and can be avoided using the Freddy Fazbear mask. Now for Balloon Boy, the humanoid animatronic that disables the flashlight, making the player vulnerable. Balloon Boy moves from the game area to the left vent, and the mask can make him leave. And now to the Withered animatronics, the old, damaged versions of the original characters, starting with Withered Freddy. He starts in Parts and Service, moves to the main hall to the Party Room 3, then to the office hallway. The mask can deter him, but again, he's Freddy Fazbear, I don't know how he's falling for this. Now on to Withered Bonnie. Faceless and missing an arm, he moves from Parts and Service to the office via the left vent. He's known for entering the office, but the mask has to be put on quicker than most of the other animatronics, otherwise he will jump scare the night guard. Now on to Withered Chica. She has an open beak and missing hands, moving through Party Room 4 to Party Room 2, and then to the right vent. The mask can deter her like most of the other animatronics. And now on to my personal favorite animatronic, Withered Foxy. More tatted than in the first game, he attacks in the hallway outside of the office and is not affected by the mask, using the flashlight to deter him though. However, this is where Balloon Boy gets annoying. When he steals the AA batteries of the night guard, it gives Foxy an easy opportunity to kill the night guard. Now to the moment you've all been waiting for, the Curiosities. The game was teased as the grand reopening, but released as the prequel to the first game, setting up many story elements and the lore the players would uncover in later games. Toy animatronics are redesigned versions of the originals, with Mangle being a counterpart to Foxy. Mangle's disassembled state is due to the children constantly taking it apart, leading to its unique, creepy appearance that scares off most of, or, makes it weird to look at for most players. And by the way, if you're still wondering if Mangle's a female or male, the answer is yes. Speaking of the toy animatronics, let's talk about Freddy! He's got a particularity that sets him different from most Freddys. He's very aggressive during the first nights, and becomes less active as the game progresses during the later nights, which is the complete opposite from the Freddy in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. In fact, he's the only animatronic that returns to his original position after his attempt at getting the night guard, while the other animatronics wander around the pizzeria after their initial attacks. Moving on to Toy Bonnie. He has a somewhat unusual behavior compared to his bandmates, since he never shows his endoskeleton eyes unlike the other two, but the irises of his eyes become smaller and smaller the closer he gets to our office. Apart from the fact that he has a special animation when he enters, the other two do not have it, so Toy Bonnie seems to be the odd one out of the three. The most particular, you could say. When Toy Chica leaves her starting point, she not only shows the eyes of her endoskeleton, but she is also left without her beak. Many theorize that she had left it embedded in Mangle due to a flaw in her render. Cawthon has confirmed that she does this to look intimidating by leaving it on the show stage. The Marionette is one of the most interesting animatronics in the FNaF franchise, but she can also be a pain in the butt, especially due to the fact that her music box runs out after a certain point in time if you don't keep it wound up. So instead of going through the history of the character, how about I give everyone a little tip I learned while playing the game. When the music box runs out, something you can do is look directly at the camera and she will not be able to attack you unless you turn the camera off or look away. However, it should be noted that this only works like near the end of the night. because as seconds pass, the marionette will force you to close the camera and then they'll chase you down to try and jump scare you. But hey, it can be a lifesaver in certain scenarios, especially if you're not trying to wind the music box up, because that can take a while. Now is Balloon Boy. He's definitely a master at warping reality to his liking, as he can teleport to his play area, and to the vents, and to the office, for then taking the batteries out of the damn flashlight, and then disappears for Foxy to kill ya. And not only that, he literally disappears when an animatronic enters the office, and then reappears when it leaves. A true goddamn menace of an animatronic. Now on to the withered animatronic Curiosities. Now you see, Withered Freddy has behavior that, although seems at first not strange, his behavior literally contradicts the first game. Since in the first game, Freddy only moved through dimly lit areas, that being one of the main characteristics of him in the first game. But in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Withered Freddy, which was assumed to be the Freddy in the first game, moves through illuminated places, like brightly lit places, even though there are areas of the camera that are dark, making him in that sense another regular animatronic. The only similar thing that he holds from the first game's Freddy is that he does not move until Bonnie and Chica have moved first. Now, if you've always wanted to know where Withered Bonnie's mask is, well, thanks to the phone call from the phone guy during night 2, we can assume that it's in the parts and service room where the Withereds themselves are. Withered Chica has an interesting detail because when she is in room 3, she covers one of the paper pals. Specifically the one that does not look like a specific animatronic. The weirder thing is that Toy Chica does the same thing, so it can be interpreted that they are indicating that in effect that the paper pal represents them, or maybe the opposite. Covering the drawing because they feel jealous, left out, because the other animatronics have drawings of them but not Chica. Foxy is the only withered animatronic that is not affected by Freddy's mask. And this is because his system is so damaged that his facial recognition no longer works properly. But ironically, despite how damaged he is, he still jumps impossibly high. Realistically, he's an animatronic with an endoskeleton. He should not be able to jump that high due to how heavy it is. The Golden Freddy of this installment for some reason has a deteriorated appearance, which does not fit the Golden Freddy of the first installment, and neither the Withered Freddy either. There's no real reason why the design of Golden Freddy changed over the years, but I guess you could excuse it with the fact that he is technically a hallucination of a ghost. This game was the first in the franchise to include minigames that try to imitate the old Atari 8-bit games, but even ignoring the fact that Scott clearly did not use a grid to make these, they also have a few errors, such as animatronics that have a wrong color, the lack of some characters like Balloon Boy, and some incorrect data such as the phrase that has become iconic that says "save him," when in fact it's shown that the soul of the marionette is a girl. In the beta of the game, it was thought that Freddy's mask would have a toxicity indicator. This would be a mechanic that would avoid the overuse of the mask, so you don't stay protected all night long. We guess Scott didn't see this as something very coherent with the game, so he decided to remove it and probably replace it with the music box mechanic. But despite this, there is an in-game cinematic in the first time you play the game where we see things from Freddy's perspective. This has not been repeated in later games in the franchise and is curiously within the game files. The cinematic is known as The Dream. But whose dream? But anyways, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more content and drop your ideas down in the comments below. I'm FuseCinema and I'll see you in the next one.